Hey, everybody.
Good morning. I guess it's afternoon. It's morning or afternoon. I guess it's 1 o'clock. While we're letting people in from the waiting room, because we have people popping on, will you guys drop in the chat where you're from? We want to see. And as Via said, we love cameras on. You guys, I'm in New York City. I have my camera on. I have it blurred because there's a bed behind me. If you've ever been in New York City, these rooms are about as
You're like this
small.
little.
Yeah, they are tiny. And so there's nowhere to go. So you get me at this like rando spot. It's the closest I can get to like have a camera in front of me. But camera's on. In the chat where you are popping in from, we won't start content probably for another minute, just so we can get people in from the waiting room. So in the chat, Twin Cities, New Jersey,
And can I
Bellingham.
add, can I add to that? I'd love to know, if you're open to sharing while you're kind of in chat, what are your goals out of today? Why are you here? And if you are comfortable sharing, are you trying to lose weight? Because some of you don't have to lose weight and you're here to understand what it's like to just have a major life change. Some of you do. And it'd be good for me to know like who we're talking to. And so if you're open to sharing, and you can private message me on Zoom if you want, like, why are you here? Are you trying to lose weight? Have you succeeded in it? Are you here because you want to change something else? Maybe I'd love to know that.
Yeah, I love that. Definitely trying to lose weight. Seattle, Bellingham, on the way
Love
to
it.
a healthy weight. Amazing, Nicole. Um,
Hi, Nicole. Hi, everybody.
yeah,
Okay. Thanks
trying to
for
lose weight
sharing.
for a
Those who are
while.
private messaging me, I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, cameras on if you guys can. Our business partner, Ben Kenny, if you don't have cameras on, he's like, you're out. So cameras on if you can. I
Or
know
he
some,
calls on you.
yeah, or he'll call on you. I know some of you said, I'm getting ready. Guess what? We're totally cool with that. We have a girl gang, our She Inc community. We meet every Wednesday, and 95% of them are getting ready as they're on
Yeah.
here. So cameras on. We don't care if you're walking. We don't care if you're driving.
I've
Like,
literally learned how to do my hair watching Jillian get ready on Wednesday mornings.
I know. I'm like, what is she doing with her makeup?
I know,
So
it's so
cameras
good.
on. Yeah, Las Vegas. I'd love to attain my healthy weight and feel amazing. Awesome. Well, we have a lot of content to cover today. And I was looking at it, I'm like, text via behind the scenes. I'm all, this is a lot for an hour. So let's dive in. Let's dive into content as people are logging in. It'll be great. Cameras on if you can. But I think today's webinar is really near and dear to both of us. Um, I've always been into health. My childhood, my stepdad, that was our activity. Was we went to the gym every night and he worked out and I would go swimming or play basketball or work out or whatnot. So I was raised that way. And I've always been pretty health conscious. Um, it's been really cool for me to be friends with Via and business partners and see her journey over the last, I would say, even 18 months of her just making the decision of, hey, I'm ready for a change. I was there. I remember, I think we were in Inman, New York, and we sat
You have
down and
been beginning, middle, and you will be there
yeah,
at the end of this. Yeah.
yeah. And you were just you're like, I'm ready. I'm ready for this. And so I'm really excited for you to share today the journey because you've done it all. Like, we're gonna be really candid about how you've done it. We're gonna talk about what changes you made in your lifestyle. I see you online and you're like hiking and exercising. I've seen the lifestyle adjustments, the diet adjustments, the all of it. And so we thought it'd be important or just a straight up value add to our community. Let's just be real, raw, authentic of how you've been able to lose the weight, as well as these principles are for everything in life. So a lot of this is principles that you can take into your business, into your finances, because a lot of it's about consistency and making a plan and all of that. But today is really about Via and her journey, and she's going to share with you exactly how it started and the process. So, Via, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Thank you.
And you guys, as your questions come up, just drop it in the chat and we'll get cranking on this.
Yeah, so thank you so much. And the reason I asked Spring, I was like, I really think I should do this webinar. We should do it together because Spring has never had to lose weight ever since I've met her. And I think it's important because oh, sorry, my the last thing we're going to talk about is the concept of proximity, which is a deeply held belief of mine. And part of what happens when you make any change in life, certainly a massive health transformation, is often your top 5 people change. We're going to talk a lot about that today. And I met Spring, and I think that probably I would have told you, Spring, it was coincidental that this all happened. But now that I think about it and it's just hitting me between the eyes, it probably isn't coincidental. You were probably, part of the constellation of things that led me to this now that I think about it. So thank you for being there for that.
V, really fast. Can you go into presenter mode? Like you're sharing, I don't know how you're sharing, but on the screen.
I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to do that again.
Thank you.
Yes, I can. Thank you for doing that.
And
All right.
Kelly, that was Kelly giving me the heads up. So you're still sharing. It's okay.
What does it look like?
It's okay. It would just be great maybe if we pin you, and then also the slides are coming through differently, but that's okay. Let's just do it. You're great.
Well, it is weird. Let's try it again.
Are you doing in Canva or Google Slides?
I'm doing Google Slides. While we're doing this, some of you guys have only known me the last few years, and some of you guys, sorry, let me just do this, have known me a long time. And one thing I will say about that is that we often don't notice things about our friends and people around us during. And then once I lost the weight, I had a lot of people, make comments like, oh, I didn't really think about it before. Like, is that showing up better?
Yep, you're great.
I didn't really think about it before and whatnot, but this was me Spring, right around the time I met you. This was in 2022. And the reason I'm showing these 2 photos is on the left-hand side, that's me in the middle of Patagonia. And that was my rock bottom moment. That was the moment that that I decided mentally to make a massive life change. And what was happening is that I attempted the Patagonian Marathon, which is one of the hardest marathons in the world, and B, one of the most magnificent and beautiful and lonely places in the world. And doing that marathon, I was in absolute last place. In fact, the only picture I got of myself on that course was this one. It was the one and only time that a human came behind me, minus the chaser van that was about a mile behind me, which chases the last person, waiting for them to basically stop. Very humiliating experience, I'm not going to lie. And there were times where the chaser van wasn't there, and I was absolutely by myself in Patagonia at the ends of the earth, quite literally. And my comment about that is I was about 100 pounds heavier in that picture. My comment about that is that was the moment where I realized 2 things. Number one, that I couldn't do everything I wanted to do because of physical limitations, and that wasn't okay. And number 2, that I didn't have the stamina for my own life, and I wanted a big life. And I realized in that moment that my big life was not in alignment with my physical life. And I just pondered so many things. I thought, how could I have so many things conquered and be so successful in other areas and not conquer health? And if that relates to you, I'd love you to get into chat, because I think, we're like, I'm so successful in my business, or I'm so successful in all these other areas, and I can't conquer my health. If that relates to you, I'd love to hear about that. Me on the right-hand side is 2 months later. And that is, if any of you have done the New York Marathon or from New York, you would recognize that as the Verrazano Bridge. And some of you might have been there with me who are on here today. And That was the final nail in the coffin of rock bottom. And the reason I'm laughing is that I knew I wasn't going to finish that race. And that was the first mile. And there's a professional photographer there. And I bought that picture. And when I bought that picture, I was like, this is my before picture. This is it. This has to be it. And I started this weight loss journey. Are you ready for this? December 5th of 2022. And I say that because who the heck starts a weight loss journey 3 weeks before Christmas? That is where I was though. It was just going to happen. And I remember the day I made my first decision, I just said, today is just one day and I'm just going to worry about conquering today. The next day I said, I'm just going to worry about conquering tomorrow. And that's what we're going to walk into. So I started all of this because of these two moments. These were transforming moments in my life. And I look at these pictures in both with fondness and with a lot of emotion, at the same time. So it's kind of interesting.
I think,
This is actually me.
Can I interject really fast?
Yeah.
I think, Via, what's really cool about this, somebody just dropped this in the chat and they said, wow, Via, you're brave. And I think like looking at those pictures and seeing like you signed up for some hard stuff, and physically, like I don't want to say there's no way, but like,
Yeah,
I don't think I could do those things, right? And I work out every day. So like I am curious, like, first of all, I respect you at the highest level. And this is, I think all the women on here would say like, this is a super vulnerable for you to sharing this, right? But I just want to know, like, what were you thinking signing up? Was it that you really wanted to do it?
That's actually a funny question. I think it does go to show, I have a lot of flaws, but one of them is not my mindset. And it does go to show that even then at, whatever I was, 235 or whatnot, even then, it didn't occur to me I couldn't do it. It sounds crazy. And that's probably why it was rock bottom for me. It was my crisis moment because I was like, no, I actually can't do this. I can't do a lot of things, if I'm being honest, because of my physical fitness. And I know it does sound crazy. And it must sound crazy but there's a lot of people here on this call that do have a weight challenge who might relate to that a little bit. Like you actually kind of forget, there's some things you can't do, but I don't know, Spring. I really thought I could do it. I really did.
I know, I love it.
Nuts.
Like it
It's
just
nuts,
says a lot about
but
you.
it's true.
It says a
It's
lot
true.
about you. So yeah.
Yeah, every time I show this picture here, that's a really hard picture for me to show. We're gonna move on. It's just horrendous. But this is me on my birthday, so February 2024. So what is that? 14 months later. I have a funny story I'll tell some of you guys over a glass of wine one of these days, but funny story about I was so close to hitting 100 about those last 3 or 4 pounds that last week of my birthday. I'm not going to lie. It was a little bit of like wrestler sweating it out moments, but I was like, I got to hit this number. The whole weight loss was really healthy and stable until that last week. I was like, man, I am not going to hit this birthday without hitting that weight. But
I was with you. I was like, go to HotWorks. Yeah.
I know I joined HotWorks, which is, don't even Google that. Just we don't even need to talk about HotWorks. So let's start. Let's dive in because this is the bulk of it. So I kind of mentioned it already. And some of the stuff I'm going to say is kind of controversial. Maybe I should preface this, Spring. Me and Spring are not doctors. We're not dietitians. We're not weight loss experts. We're not, in any of that, right? I am simply sharing my story and what worked for me because we're going to get into my plan. I'm going to get super granular and we're going to talk, Spring and I were talking this morning about how we eat and how we fuel and all of that. But, and there are a whole bunch of different ways to do it. No one's going to do it exactly like me and like any of you. And so my comment is, as I go through this, I hope you can glean things that are going to work for you. Fair. And so this isn't me. We're not selling a weight loss program. We don't have anything, this is just me sharing because I've had hundreds and hundreds of reach outs on it. And the first thing is a little controversial because I think so much of our training, Spring and Shannon and everyone here, so much of our training is we got to get the mindset right. You got to get motivated. You have to, do all the things, and that's all true. We do have to get our mindset right. We do have to constantly motivate ourselves. But the controversy is that if you wait for that, you are never going to get started. So was I at rock bottom? Yeah, I was at rock bottom. That was a tough physical season for me in my life. And I didn't wait. I just woke up and I said, this is it. It's time. It's December 5th. I don't care when Christmas is, whatever. My mindset wasn't right. I wasn't in the mood for this. I didn't really feel up to it. I had done zero prep. In fact, I was on the road. I was at a real estate event on the road. I just woke up and decided. And here's my comment about that. It is much easier when your mindset and your motivation are in alignment with your decision. It's much easier. It's a harder lift. What I'm telling you to do is a harder lift. When you're just like, the mind isn't ready, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's exercising. Please don't wait for your mindset to be ready to wake up and exercise in the morning. You'll never wake up and exercise in the morning, right? So it's harder. It's a heavier lift because you're having to use self-discipline. So I had to use a ton of energy early on because I really wasn't in the right space. I really wasn't sure I was ready to, all the excuses. I travel a lot. I'm not going to be able to keep it up. I'm not really a meal prepper. And so there were some nights where I was in bed at 7 p.m. Kidding you not. A, because I was done with my calories for the day. I didn't want to cheat. And B, because I was just tired. It was taking so much self-discipline and willpower and decision energy. So I just kind of want to state that you start anyway. You start after this webinar. Don't wait for your mind to catch up. The behavior is first and then the mind. Here's what starts happening. What starts happening is getting into the action is actually what gets you motivated.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that happened that was one of the fundamental things that changed this for me, and it happened right before the Patagonia Marathon, was somebody taught me the concept of how important it was to stay in integrity with myself and keep my promises to myself. And I realized that I wasn't keeping promises to myself and that it was wrecking me inside. And once I started keeping the promises I made to myself, I'm going to get up and eat this way. I'm going to get up and I'm going to, I'm going to work out or whatever it was. Once I started keeping my promises to myself, side note, I started with making my bed every day. That's where I started. And then, ladies, this is going to sound weird. I started with my skincare routine at night. I know it's weird. These are little trigger actions that I knew that I could promise myself and keep the promise. And then I started getting confidence in myself. I was like, I can keep my promises to myself. And I'm noticing when I make my bed, my room stays cleaner and I like a clean room. And I started noticing that those were triggering other behaviors and it started giving me motivation and it started giving me confidence. The same thing happened with my weight loss. Once I was on day like 30 of keeping my promise to myself and and you lose a lot of weight up front when you do that. Like your drops are bigger. So my average was 6 to 8 pounds a month, but it was like 10 or 15 pounds, at first, because I had 100 pounds to lose. And then then it started getting smaller, just so you guys know. So I just wanted to share that. Accountability is a really great way to kind of hack getting started, even if your mind's not right.
I would say too, again, how I prefaced this at the very beginning, this is for life in general. So the best way to get your confidence is to keep the promises you make to yourself. And this is where just the small little daily habits of doing it daily. And I loved, Via, that you've said, hey, there were some days that I went to bed super early because if I didn't, I was going to eat. Like that's some self-awareness as well. For those of you that are like, hey, I might need to lose some weight. And at nighttime, I've got some habits that are not great. Then maybe make some decisions that at a certain point of the night, you stop eating or you don't buy the food that's in your house. Like part of the way that I have been able to stay fit is I just don't buy it. Because if I buy it, I'm going to eat it. So just knowing those little tiny things, I love that you're like, sometimes I just had to go to bed.
100%. Yeah. This turned into a very motivating concept and quote to me. I don't know why there's a little line on there, but this concept, and I want to preface this quote and this concept because I think that it can actually make you feel really you can self-flagellate yourself on this concept. But when I heard this, that hunger is the first element of self-discipline, and if you can control what you eat and drink, you can control everything else. I actually judged myself, and it had a negative effect on me. I don't know if any of you guys, if that's triggering you like it did me. But a lot of times I've found when I get triggered, there's a reason. And I believe this is true. So I had to get into a state, and this is getting really deep and it may not resonate with everybody, but I'm going to share it anyway. I had to kind of get into the state of like, bring it on, like, bring on the hunger, almost like I could feel the needle move by being hungry. So it kind of had to turn into a little bit of like, bring it on. Like, when you cold plunge, you're like, bring on the cold, like bring on the pain, a little David Gogginsy. In fact, I listened to a lot of David Goggins during this time, and I'm not so into him now. So, I just wanted to kind of preface it by saying this may or may not help some of you. I bet you it won't leave some of you. I mean, it's kind of it's a pretty strong statement, and I wanted to put it in here because this is my journey, and I do think this is important. And true. Hunger is really hard. It's a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a basic need that we have, right?
Well, I have a coach that he says that. He's like, if you can't control what you put in your mouth, then how can you control other aspects of your life? And again, that's a loaded statement, but it is one of those of like, if you're not happy, then you've got to look at what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, this is huge. And this is any of you guys who spent any time with me, or not, JC Nolan said, embrace the suck, because exactly it. It was just kind of like this, like, let's get psyched up, and embrace the suck. But any of you who spent any time with me, you know that one of my DHBs, deeply held beliefs, is focus on the process, not the outcome. And I'm going to go deeper on that, because if you are a type A personality and you're driven to succeed, I'm actually, I go through this in a lot of my business entities and my role at place right now, where I have to set process-based goals. So what that means is that I put the pressure on the leading indicator goals, not the weight. If I put the pressure on the leading indicator goals, the weight's going to just take care of itself. Said another way, by the time I get on that scale every morning, and yes, I weigh myself every single morning, and so should you if you're on this journey. There's a lot of research and data that says you don't have to weigh yourself every morning. You can weigh yourself every week, whatever. That is avoiding the inevitable. I believe if you're on this journey, you should be weighing yourself the exact same way you wake up, take off your clothes, you weigh yourself, so it's your call. Whatever you guys decide it's your life. For me, I believe strongly that you wake up every morning and it's the same weight every day. I have weight data now for years, but you have to attribute wins to the process. That's the key. Because if you're not winning every day, it is hard to continue to stay motivated, right? The days are long, the years are short, especially with weight loss. You are not feeling it necessarily on a day. Even if you had a day with a big loss, even if you had 1 or 2 pounds that you might have lost, that particular day, you haven't changed your clothing size. You haven't really, you're not necessarily seeing it. In fact, for those of you who are in my boat, who have 60, 80 plus pounds to lose, it was shocking how much it took me to lose before anyone noticed. A ton. I don't think people noticed you guys till 60 pounds. It was a lot, 50, 60 pounds. So like you have to maintain an internal intrinsic motivation during this, right? So create daily wins. Not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I do want to give you some examples of the leading indicators that I tracked. So definitely tracked, I use my Fitness Pal, by the way, and track everything I ate, every bite I ate. Even now, I track periodically. I'm not as diligent as I was during active weight loss. I'm in maintenance now. But I'm actually now, I would say, Spring and I were talking about Spring. I'm beyond, I'm training for an event. I'm actually eating a ton of calories. I'm in a fueling calibration mode right now is what I would say I'm at. But calories, macros, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Steps, sleep. Sleep is my secret hack. I changed my life to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. That is so important. You lose weight when you're sleeping. And so that was really motivating for me. A food diary of everything I ate and my heart rate. Aura ring, thanks to Spring. Spring and I were in on a trip together, and I'm like, what are you tracking? Like, what is that? I have now tracked every night of sleep for the last, I don't even know, year and a half. I've missed one night on my Aura. I
And
use a
steps.
Garmin for my workout. Yeah.
Yeah. And steps and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, and steps, everything. And it's like biofeedback. It tracks my stress. I'm a huge Aura Ring fan. I'm also obsessed with my HRV. I check it every single day. I'm super driven to increase that. We can talk about that on another webinar. That's getting into the weeds. But these are the leading indicators that I track, and you can choose what yours are.
I actually want to encourage you
Yeah,
all. Can I stop on here, Via?
yeah.
I actually want
Can
to
you go
encourage
back?
you all, regardless of where you're at in your journey, this is what you want to track, whether it's 5 pounds, 10 pounds, maintaining. So for years, this is how I do life. I track calories. And I don't know if you're going to go heavier into this yet, but it's a calories in, calories out is the first step. So you need to burn more energy than you're consuming. So the reason that your body holds fat is because you're consuming more than you're burning, right? So the awareness around the calories that you're putting in your body is the first component of it. Then the second component of this is then, if you want to go deeper, is the macros, which is the macro and micronutrients. So protein, especially, there's a lot of women on here. If there's a few dudes too, and this is for everybody, but protein is the number one thing you need to be eating. So the macros of your protein is what you want to be tracking: fats, carbs, and protein. Those are called macros. But this is, again, you want to be, and you can do a macro calculator online and figure out what your numbers should be based off what your goals are. But these are the things, the steps: 10,000 steps a day. As Via was saying, your sleep, 7 hours of sleep. You really just want to start being aware. It's the same as your business. If you're not tracking your numbers in your business, you can't improve it. There's not one person who has a successful business without tracking their numbers. So if your health is important to you, these are the metrics that you need to be tracking in order to get the results you want.
Yeah, that's right. And we're going to get into details on what I did on my plan. Very well said. And what I'm trying to say though is you have to attach wins to these. So my mentality got to be like, yeah, I won the day. This is great. It wasn't because of the scale. I knew that would follow. I had to change what I viewed as a win to the leading indicators, not the lagging indicators. And I think what happens so many times is we set goals and we say, I'm going to lose 100 pounds. I want to lose 100 pounds. And what I was really doing is I was really only focused on the next. So if I was at, 189, all I cared about was getting to 179. That's it. I was like obsessed. And then when I got to 179, obsessed with getting, nothing else mattered but 169. It was getting the next digit in front of it. And so if I hit my calories, I was like, yeah, I hit my sleep, I hit my macros. I didn't. Okay. I knew the scale would follow. And the old me was celebrating here. It was celebrating at the lagging indicators. But the new me celebrates the process wins. And that's what I want to get across here. Okay. This is a great chart I got out of one of the mini books I've read on rewarding the process. And, like the old, you would take a trigger and then you would have a glass of wine every day, and that would be your relaxation. You'd sit on the couch, right? The new me and the new you, start setting other triggers that are healthier. And then your reward becomes a healthy reward. So I like that chart in there. Okay. I know in the first part, Spring, I said, hey, behavior first and then mindset, but we still have to change our mindset, right? And I think that, a big moment I had was, a little bit of ways through this, someone offered me pizza, and I love pizza. I still eat pizza. Like, pizza's great. It's like, it's the number one food people cheat on a diet. Did you know that? In the world, the number one food people cheat on a diet is pizza. And I love pizza. Someone offered me pizza, and that particular phase of my diet, it wasn't in my plan. I said, no, I can't have it. Like, I can't have it, darn it. Like, so sorry, right? And I realized I was driving home after that, and I was like, wait, by saying that, I'm literally feeling like I'm being deprived. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't? I don't want that. I actually don't want that pizza. It was a huge moment for me when I realized that I actually didn't want that pizza because I knew how I would feel. I would have gut issues because I was eating so clean at that point. Sadly, I probably wouldn't have gut issues now, but back then I would have had gut issues. And I really realized that I needed to change everything. I needed to change how I talked. I needed to change my mindset. It reminded me of, I never tell my kids ever, mom has to go to work. I have to go to work. I always say, I get to go to work. I'm choosing to go to work. It's the same thing, you know, and so you have to really go from I can't to I don't want that. I don't want that. I may short term want that, but I really don't want that in my life. And I don't want the result of that in my life. So a lot of this is staying focused on the future you. Can I just make a comment on that too? You know, I started this with a lot of really deep whys, you know, at the beginning when I talked about my rock bottom, and I still mean it. Those were real. Can I also share with you that my love of fashion was a big part of this? My aesthetic appearance was a big part of this. My vanity and my ego were a part of this. There is nothing wrong with that. Wanting to look good, wanting to wear clothes are like like a hobby for me. You know, wanting to look good, it's whatever is going to get you through that day, ladies and gentlemen. That's really all that matters for motivation. Don't fight it. Sometimes it's deep, sometimes it's really shallow, and it's all okay. It's all okay. It's whatever is going to get you through that day. But we really have to create some kind of a system where we have daily wins. And I believe the way to do that is with, you know, having goals, having leading indicator process goals and celebrating those wins, not lagging indicator goals. Not that I didn't celebrate every 10 pounds. That was like a big thing for me. Every time I moved down a quartile, like every time I went from like like a 1.7 to a 1.6 to a 1.5, whatever that was. And keeping promises to myself to this day, I still celebrate. Like that's a lifetime struggle. It will be a lifetime. I will not let you down. I will let myself down. So it will be a lifetime struggle for me to keep my promises to myself. It's just the way that is, right? For me, you might be wired differently. So that's what I meant by mindset. When we send you guys the replay of this, we will send you this list. These are, I read a lot, and there's a lot of books in here, and I'm also going to send, podcasts. I love Huberman Lab and Rich Roll, love. Ed Milet's great. God Mode, is a newer one I got onto because of Spring. And I think that, they are really good at sort of rewiring the brain. Spring. What's his name? Will Lamb?
It's William Lamb. They actually just changed the name of the podcast. So we'll send it out in the meeting recap, but it's all about programming your brain to create whatever you want.
It's pretty amazing. I think we're gonna maybe have him come to our November event.
He is. He's actually going to be a speaker at our November event. He said yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. So yeah, he's incredible. He usually charges, I think his normal speaking fee is like $500,000 or something nuts. So
Very expensive.
yeah.
But it's great.
The other thing I just wanted to throw out here, and again, we can revisit this in future podcasts. I do want to just skim on this. We talked about it a little bit earlier, you know, the Oura Ring, and the Garmin. For me, when we're talking about mindset, data is extraordinarily helpful. Spring and I are business partners, and she's learning that about me, that I have to know what the data is so I can move a needle. This is how I'm wired. It is what it is. So some of you might be the same. So by tracking something, for me, it was extraordinarily motivating to see what I would call invisible needle moves. Like I couldn't feel it necessarily. Like I couldn't sort of feel my body fat going down in general, not on a day-to-day basis. So I get DEXA scans. I'm due for my next one. I think the last one I got was like February or March. And those are like full body scans where bone density, muscles. I track my HRV. I have a low VO2 naturally. And so it's a really big win for me when I increase my VO2. And it's really good right now because of the kind of training I'm doing, really motivating to me. I worked with a nutritionist and a doctor during this. And I'm not gonna lie, the first part of my diet, my muscles decreased. It wasn't good. We tracked it very, very carefully. So we're going to talk about protein in a bit, but it is really, really important to eat a lot of protein, even on a low calorie diet, because that's favorable to your muscle not decreasing, right? And it's common if we eat low calorie diets for our muscle mass to decrease. And so for me, it was like super motivating when my muscle mass was staying pat or increasing while my weight was decreasing. Data may not be helpful for you, and that's fine. I just wanted to show you guys what
I want to say something on that though. Like
of course.
it's not it might not be helpful for you. She's giving you an excuse. If you want to lose weight, you have to know the data. So you have to know this. Like you can't, this is how you get the those leading and lag measures that she's talking about, those daily wins that she's talking about. These daily wins add up. So the daily wins around how many steps, the daily wins around how much sleep you got, the daily wins around or even the weekly body fat. Like I test my body fat every week. A little maybe TMI, but again, back to like knowing what's going on. So I would just challenge you guys, like this data is how you have your daily wins that you can track and measure against of like if you're wanting those results.
Yeah, and you could add BMI in here. To me, oh, I should have said weight. Duh. It's so funny. It's like the most obvious thing. To me, losing weight took care of the BMI. So, really weight, I don't know why weight wasn't number one. I measured my weight every day. Sorry, I should have said that. But there's other things that are happening outside of weight that were helpful, right? Especially during plateau periods, which happen, right? One comment I want to make, and maybe for some of you, this is going to be the most important part of this whole webinar because of how a lot of us are wired. Probably the biggest difference this time, I had lost 70 pounds 4 or 5 years ago and kept it off for a while until I didn't, is when you make a mistake, a lot of us have a tendency to throw it all out, throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. And you just can't do that, folks. You can't do that. This gets into a lot of psychology that we don't have time to get into, but you have got to learn to love yourself. Because if you don't, think about it. When you don't like somebody, do you want to help them? If you don't like somebody, do you think they deserve good things? No, you don't. So if you don't love yourself, you don't think you deserve good things. So you have got to learn to give yourself grace. You will F up when you go on vacation. I will 100% guarantee it. I 100% guarantee you will not from this day forward have all of your days perfect. You will screw up. You will eat pizza. You will fall off the wagon. Don't stop getting surprised by the surprises. It's just not, frankly, mixing it up. I think Shireen's on here. I worked for a long time with a phenomenal nutritionist and diet coach named Shireen. If she's on here, Shireen, you should put your number or your email in chat. Phenomenal. And she told me after I lost 70 pounds with her, and I remember one, she goes, okay, now that you've lost it, I'm going to tell you, remember a couple times you fell off the wagon and you were really worried about it? Actually, that confused your body and I loved it. You actually went on and had great losses after that. The risk is that you fall off the wagon. And I remembered that this whole time. I would go, oh, Shireen would tell me this is actually good as long as I get back on the wagon because I'm confusing my body, right? So you are like berating yourself and flagellating yourself. And the reality is you might be doing a little confusion enough to have a really good loss. You wake up the next day and say, hey, today's a new day and here's my plan and I'm going to work it and I'm going to keep my promises to myself. Fair? Can we all agree that the difference, that this is going to be the difference maker to some of you, is going to be to give yourself grace? Okay.
Give yourself grace. And if you do screw up, don't feel like you need to starve yourself the next day. I see a lot of people who screw up and then they're like, oh, I'm going to like go on some crash diet because I screwed up. No, just start back with your plan. Just start back with your plan. And then it's just all starts adding up.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into the nitty gritty. This is super controversial. I'm going to say it. Most people believe that you should lose weight in a sustainable way that is your future lifestyle. That is how we need to get. There's no question. We have to create habits that we are going to continue to use to stay in maintenance. That said, if you have 60, 80 plus pounds to lose, I actually don't believe that. These are people talking, I worked with doctors, I worked with a dietitian. I was on a liquid diet for about a month of this, and no one thought I was going to be on a liquid diet my whole life. You do what you have to do to lose the weight, and then you move into lifestyle decisions, lose the weight. The average bariatric patient, which is weight loss surgery, the average bariatric patient gains 7 years of life expectancy after surgery. 7 years, lose the weight. Now, once you lose it and you're on a stride, then we start adapting to go to sustainable activities. Yes, can we all agree that? Really important. If you have 10 or 20 pounds to lose, do it in a way that's sustainable. I'm talking to those of you here who just lose it and then work into those habit patterns. And that is controversial. Okay. 80% of your weight loss is going to be nutrition, but for health and longevity, fitness is your new lifestyle. So for me, and only me, I broke this up into 3 phases. I'm on the 3rd phase now. Nutrition only. I did no exercise at the beginning of this. I didn't add in exercise and fitness till probably 75, 80 pounds in. You can choose when. For me, I did something called habit stacking, where I wanted to be sure that I was completely nailed on my first habit, the most important, before I added a second one. What I didn't want to do is start with 5 transformational, huge habits at once. I would have failed. So all I focused on was nutrition at first, and we're going to go over that right now. And only for me, this is what I did. I did macro focus and a caloric focus. I didn't remove anything. So I didn't move anything. Jerry Rincon saying she's confused. Jerry, I attempted 2 marathons in 2022 and I pretty much stopped exercising to lose the weight. And I just started exercising again this January. So that's, I didn't mean to be confusing. I didn't put myself on any type of a restriction diet. However, if any of you have tried to eat 100 grams of protein in 1,000 to 1,200 calories, you know there's a natural, you hardly have any calories left for anything else but protein. And so while I didn't say I can't have pizza, I can't have a brownie, I can't have ice cream, it would be it would be almost impossible to hit that goal, right? If I did have those things. And for me, psychologically, that worked better. For you, you might want to have an eating plan. I don't know. But what I know is that when I started this, I wasn't eating enough protein. And I told you what happened to my muscle mass. It decreased. Don't do that. Don't do that, right? It is really important to eat protein. Ideally, I'd be eating 150 grams of protein now, but that's going to take more calories. That's a different conversation for a different time. For most of 2023, this was my plan. About 100 grams of protein and 1,000 to 1,200 calories. Because of that, I did a ton of supplements. In fact, you can see I've got my athletic greens right here, right? Calcium, magnesium, multivitamins to make sure I was getting all of the nutrients I needed. I was also working with a dietitian and a doctor and got lab work, still get lab work, was getting scans, very, very aware of what was happening in my body during this time. And I didn't always nail it, you guys, but we were able to course correct by getting it measured, right? So again, I had a team in place, a doctor and whatnot, and that's how we did it. Now it's different. I was just talking to Spring, a lot more carbs now because I'm doing training for an endurance event and all of that. I do want to skip to
Can I say something?
yeah.
You guys, I want to just reiterate, this is for her. So she wouldn't, these numbers she's putting out there are for her and what her numbers were for her to go in a caloric deficit, for her to lose the weight. You need to figure, you need to figure out what yours are. Like, to give you guys context, I'm looking at these numbers being like, I would be starving. Like, I eat way more than this, right? So I really want you to make sure that you understand Like you've got to go in again, somebody put in here, you can use Chat GTP or hire Shireen or whoever, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but hire somebody. So I hired somebody years ago. So I've actually, for probably 5 years, I have somebody who does my macros every single week and who gives me my workouts every single week through an app that I met on Instagram, right? So like just know what works for you, but these numbers are Via's.
Yeah, and I think I'm eating, I was like spring, I'm just starting to track again. I think I'm eating more than I know I'm eating more on my big workout days. I'm eating way more than even 1800 now. So I'm in a lot of calories, but I'm also
You're
working out a
burning a
lot.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right now. Okay. So that's one thing. It doesn't matter what your plan is, honestly. But I'm glad you reminded me of that. So let's talk about a couple things. Basal metabolic rate. Okay. Every one of us, you can get online and just, look up, maybe Shannon, you can throw a calculator online, basal metabolic rate. It's if you were laying down all day, it's how many calories you would burn. If you're kind of sedentary, not doing a ton, and you add, I think my dietitian always added like 250 to that, just 250. That was my baseline. If I ate that amount of calories, I knew that I would stay neutral. So we had to operate in a deficit of that in order to lose weight. So you have to work out what your calculation is, right? And by working out what your calculation is, you know what kind of a deficit you need to go in. Now, if you're exercising every day, that increases, right? And so as long as you're in a deficit of that, and I was working these numbers with my dietitian on Zoom I think we met every 2 to 3 weeks last year. It was sometimes even once a month. At first, it was like every week. And then it kind of started subsiding. And so we were working on mathematical formulas that would get recalibrated as I lost weight. Fair? Okay. Okay, let's talk about protein intake. Ideally, we are eating our protein. I am eating my protein with food, not supplements, right? So I am an animal protein human. I eat meat, I eat fish, and that's very efficient. It's a little harder to do if you're a vegetarian, and absolutely possible. I also changed my mindset of my morning coffee. My morning coffee turned into a delivery mechanism of nutrients and collagen protein. So my morning coffee is like basically like a way for me to, drink a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, oils, and it's like my morning coffee is 250 calories, and that's my breakfast, basically, right? Because there's so many nutrients in it.
I've traveled with you. I've seen it. I've seen it all go in the mug. Yeah, it's
I'm
funny.
trying to see if I have it. I have travel packets, like I have bulletproof collagen travel packets. I have a whole bunch going on. There's just a lot going on. I think I have it with me. I have little I have like protein pods. I mean, you name it, right? I've got it. And that just came because it was really hard to hit those macros. My dietitian was really good about teaching me like the size of my hand, about different portions, and about, the goals kind of, 35 grams of protein per meal and whatnot. So, it doesn't really matter what your plan is. If you're working with a good team in place, I do want to talk to you about something though that I feel really strongly about. And again, we're getting into very controversial territory, but I'm going to go right out and say it because I feel that strongly about it. And that is the use of aids and hacks. Because let's be real, you all know how to lose the weight. And everyone here, we probably didn't teach too much to the last few minutes. Basically, it's eat fewer calories than you burn. Fair? I think we all kind of knew that coming in. The question is, why are we not doing it? Why can't we control that hunger? Why is it we're not following the plan? And I do want to talk about hacks and aids because I think that it's huge. I think that we have society changing things out there right now that can help you. And for some reason, people are really freaking out over that. And that is the use of Ozempic and Mounjaro. I am a massive advocate of it. I started using Mounjaro September. So I think I was, I don't know, maybe -60. I was probably about -60 when I started using Mounjaro. These are actually peptides. They're really the only reason they're prescription is because they're a shot. And I'm not on it now. But I actually had someone say to me, they go, well, I'm really happy. I'm really proud of myself. I lost 30 pounds. I heard this 2 weeks ago. I almost cheated and started using, started using Ozempic, but I did it on my own. And I thought, well, it's not cheating. It's not cheating. If you have a lectin or a, ghrelin deficiency, or your brain isn't feeling satiated, right? I mean, this is simply treating that. These are peptides. They're perfectly fine. I'm not trying to sell these. What I'm trying to do is give you permission to do whatever it takes to follow a plan. Because if you are, 40, 50, 60, 100, 200 pounds overweight, any side effects of these medications is nothing compared to this weight you're going to lose, right? My life is so much better because of this weight I've lost. And so I just want to give you all permission to do whatever it takes and to hack this however you want, and not to. If you're cool, listen, guys, don't do it if you don't need to, but I just want to encourage you to do what you need to do. You are not cheating. It is still hard work, even on Manjaro. And that was only the last part of my journey, right? So, Spring, I know that you feel the same way. That's why we brought it up.
Yeah, I actually called Via before this because this is her webinar. And I just said, hey, are you going to be really transparent? Like, are you going to really share? And she said, yeah, I'm going to be transparent. I think that there needs to just be the realness of how this happens. And so everything she's sharing with you is the truth. Like, if you're in that space and you're like, man, I really can't, then maybe it's something you should look at, it all comes down to being whatever you're wanting to do. I have a woman who's in one of my private coaching groups, and we went to Mexico last month for an event, and I hadn't seen her for a few months. And I was like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she goes, what everybody else is doing. And she's like, but she's like, I wouldn't do it for the longest time because I felt like it was cheating. And she's like, my business partner just said, reframe it in your mind and do what it's going to take. And so to each one of you guys, it's whatever you choose. Like, I biohack like no other, not necessarily in this department, but like blood work, and I take more pills than probably anybody, but it's for the supplement component of it. So you do you. And I want to honor you for being really transparent, because I know a lot of people who are not being transparent about it. So
well, thank you. And my comment is that don't do it if you're not following a plan and you're not moving. This is when you need to start adding movement in, because there's a lot of research showing people who are gaining the weight back, they just stopped eating. They just used it to inhibit their appetite without adapting to lifestyle changes. And this is where I am going to contradict myself. And when I said you don't have to lose weight the same way, we need to get to a point where we're making lifestyle changes. So I viewed that, I'm not on it anymore, as a moment in time. I was borrowing time as losing weight, getting into habit, so that when I went off of it, the habit stuck. And so I do want to share that. In the spirit of time, I'm going to skip some of this. And we're just going to get to 5 and 6. But any of you guys, we can do more webinars. We're going to spend some time in our November event, biohacking. Spring and I are just massive fans of that, like in all ways. Why wouldn't you hack life and live your best life, right? So number 5 is very quick, and I don't need to say a lot about it other than I am wired for intensity, not consistency. And so be sure that you are being consistent in the right way. And what I mean by that is we can be, unfortunately, consistent with bad habits. And so we need to be sure that we're consistent with good habits. And consistency, a lot of that, keeping your promises to yourself, plays into this, right? So I don't think we need to.
Can I say something though? I think where you're winning is you use some of these tools, but you also adapted your lifestyle. Like, you did count your protein, you did do the macros, you did sign up for the She's doing 29029 and some other things. You are training all the time. I talk to you almost every day and you're coming out of a Pilates class or a spin class.
Yeah.
So everything she's sharing with you is her journey. And I just want to really hit on this of like, I know plenty of people who didn't change one thing, but just got on it. And that's where they're just not living a healthy lifestyle. Like, meaning they got on it and then they've got off. You literally like saying, I did this tool and I did all the things that like somebody who wants to maintain and create this lifestyle is doing. And so now you no longer need it. Right. So, and if you do at some point, you can do it again. So I really just like, I want to put a little bit of a highlight on that of, that you are doing all the things that actually make it a long, sustainable lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And I think that, where for me personally, why this has been a lifestyle for me is, there's a contrast. Like when you eat like crap, you feel like crap. And, but if you're constantly eating like crap, you don't know the difference of feeling good. Right.
Yeah.
And it's been a lifestyle thing because to what you even just said, when you start getting a little bit of results and you're like, oh, dang, I like the muscle pop or whatever, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so it's just getting that head start of whatever you need to do. If it's just getting your steps in, or if it's starting with
Yeah.
sleeping, but keeping that consistency is going to be key.
Yeah, if any of you have done any zone 2 fitness training, which I'm doing now for 29029, it's so funny because it's so hard to wire yourself to the slow jog is actually good. The fact it's just consistency, it's not intensity anymore, right?
Yeah.
One of the concepts that has changed my life as far as fitness goes, Spring, and this concept, now that we're on it, Sarita, I don't know if Sarita's on here, but Sarita sent it to me and it just changed everything. And it's basically the quote that this is the marathon. The marathon is the training. The race is just a celebration. And what every single day I wake up and I go, I want to work out. And I'm like, wait. This is the marathon. The marathon isn't on the Verrazano Bridge on race day. The marathon is actually doing this every day consistently. That's the beauty of it. The race day, you know that day if you're going to finish or not, barring any unforeseen circumstances, right? You've put the hours on the pavement. That concept was what I didn't get in 2022 and that I get now. And side note, I have held off sharing this publicly. So this is the first time sharing it, but I have signed up for the New York Marathon in November, which I'm so nervous even telling you right now, because that's a lot. There's a lot of baggage that comes with that, but I am pretty damn determined to finish that marathon, I will tell you. So there's that. The last thing, which is probably the biggest, is proximity is power. I have to tell you guys, oh, look, I put my mantra there. The training is the marathon. Being with people who share your goals with you, who don't make you feel bad about the lifestyle changes you're making, don't make you feel guilty. This is how you will succeed. One of my favorite quotes by James Clear, Atomic Habits. I read it again during this journey. Cannot stress how great that book is. But its environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. So when you talk about hacks, you can muscle through this. You can do whatever you need to do to get through this. You want the best hack? It's get with 5 people who are living their best lives, who are focused on health, who are focused on getting better in all aspects of their life, who have the body that you want, who have the physical fitness that you want, who have the marriage that you want, who have the business you want, the wealth that you want. That's your future. I tell my boys all the time, I can predict your future. I can predict your future by the 5 people that you're hanging out with. You're going to turn out like them. So can you. So getting into community has been huge. And it's not coincidental that when I met Spring, I was 200 and whatever I was, 35 pounds or whatnot. And this journey has happened over the last 2 years. And in this journey, we formed She Inc. And we formed it to basically curate our own community because it gets lonelier. There's not as many people that are understanding the, bringing protein pods in my hotel room. Spring didn't even bat an eyelid. charging her Aura ring in our room, and all of the things that both of us do, like all of her supplements laid out, that just like we have normalized that. And my son's on this. He's like, I can confirm. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Aiden. So I just wanted to kind of plant that seed that, if you want to hack, then be purposeful and intentional and create your own community. Don't wait for it to come organically. We have a huge event coming November 8th through 10th in Mountain Shadows, right? In
Scottsdale.
Phoenix. We would love to have you guys attend. And more important, I would say, ladies, get on our website and talk to Amy, and she can kind of walk you through what it looks like to be in our community.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I agree. Like, who you surround yourself with matters. We're creating something powerful. So we have an event, it's experience for our clients in a couple weeks in Bellingham.
Oh, yeah. We have a couple slots left.
Yeah, we have a couple spots if you want to come. This particular one's about wealth. So we will be doing fun, healthy things like going on hikes and paddleboarding and kayaking. And then Ben and Chris have graciously said they will come and help us. The women are coming to create wealth plans and just level up with other great women. The November event is going to be more conference style of just straight up real estate, most likely, a lot of it, but health and fun, girly things. We're partnering up with a few of our other friends to put it together, and it's going to be so fun. So if you're like, I got to get in the right room in the next 2 weeks, we'd love to see you in Bellingham. And if you guys want to join us in November, well, I love that she put it on here, but we're going to launch it at the end of this month. So put it on your calendar, the 8th through 10th, watch for the early bird pricing to come out on it. And we're just grateful you guys were on here today with us.
Yeah. And just email me via@vija.com, vija@vija.com. If we didn't answer anything, if you want to talk more about this, I think that there's a lot to talk about with hormone supplementing, and we can really get into the biohacking part of it. And, I would say yes to all of it. All of that is part of this journey, right? And as you start unpeeling the onion on this, come hang out with us at She Inc, because that's all we talk about. Like, if you eavesdrop on our conversations, we're all just like on this journey together, getting better, cold plunging, all this nutty stuff.
I actually wanted to tell you guys this. So Robin, who is part of our icon community, came to our first November event. We cold plunged, we hiked Zion, all of that. And then they left there. Grace was there. There were a lot of women who were there, and Grace was part of it. And they all went in and did some biohacking and stuff. I think Robin's lost 40 pounds.
Yes.
Since November event. Kimmy, since our November event, she signed up for Whistler and she's lost almost 40 pounds. And both of these were not with any other things in changing lifestyle and biohacking and hormones. And so, yeah, I mean, we are not, just so you know, I'm not a fitness, weight loss, nothing, anything, but to what Vija said, who you surround yourself with matters. And if you want to get around some great women, we'd love to be a part of it. So
yeah, we'd love you to be part of our community. So reach out to me, reach out to Spring if you want to keep talking about this. This is a near and dear topic to me. And thanks for letting me do the webinar. This saved me, about 200 one-on-one conversations. Not that I'm not happy to have them, but that's really what started happening. I was like, all right, if I do it once for a group of people, then that's great. So I'm happy to talk to you more about it, though. I really am.
All right. Well, we appreciate. I'm gonna go enjoy New York City. So
I know, have fun. Have fun.
Yeah, so much.
Right.
I hope you guys all have a great day. Thank you for joining us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.